What do you do when the world reads your silence as weakness? When people smile to your face but quietly scheme behind your back? Life will test you like that. Not with loud warnings, but with quiet betrayals, subtle games, and cold dismissals. And if you are not ready, not sharp, not grounded, it will turn you into a pawn in someone else's plan. But here is the truth. You were not made to chase approval or bow to noise. You were made to move with clarity, to see through deception, and to walk with the kind of strength that does not shout. Outsmarting the world is not about being cruel. It is about being clear. It is not about tricking others. It is about refusing to be tricked by them. And that requires something deeper than intelligence. It requires discipline, presence, and an unshakable inner code. In this video, we are going to explore 5 powerful rules that can shift the way you navigate life. Quiet rules, strategic rules, the kind that help you win without noise and lead without seeking attention. If you are ready to see differently, to move differently, stay with me. Your strength begins here. Rule 1. Master your emotions before they master you. Let me ask you something simple but honest. How many times have you lost something that mattered, not because of what someone else did, but because of how you responded? Maybe it was a chance you ruined, a relationship you pushed away, or a moment when your pride shouted louder than your wisdom. If you're being real with yourself, you already know the answer. See, emotions are not your enemy. They are part of being human. But if you don't rule over them, they will rule over you. A person who cannot master their own reactions becomes easy to predict, easy to provoke, and easy to manipulate. He's no longer making choices. He's reacting like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. The Stoics called this slavery of the soul, not the kind that chains the body, but the kind that clouds the mind. But the one who learns restraint, the one who can feel everything and still act from clarity, that person becomes dangerous in the best way. Dangerous because no one can shake him. Dangerous because while others lose their heads, he keeps his crown on straight. He walks into storms with the calm of someone who knows that no one else gets to decide who he is. Control doesn't mean suppression. It means command. It means choosing your response instead of being owned by your impulse. Someone mocks you, you don't flinch. Someone tries to provoke you, you don't react, you assess. If it's worth addressing, you respond on your terms. If it's not, you let them sink in their own noise. You don't bark back. You are not a dog. You are the lion. And lions do not answer to every noise in the jungle. And understand this: no one has ever gained true power by constantly proving themselves. That's what the insecure do. That's what the untrained mind demands: validation, reaction, applause. But the person of discipline has moved beyond that. His face is calm. His silence is loud. He is not cold. He is composed. He's not hiding. He's observing. And when he moves, the room pays attention. Stillness is not weakness. It's strategy. Most people fight every battle thrown at them, swinging wildly at insults, defending their image, burning bridges to feel right. But the one who waits, who learns, who watches, who strikes only when necessary, that person doesn't win fights. He wins wars. The Stoics taught that anger, fear, pride, these are not guides. They are signs. Like smoke from a fire, they tell you something is burning, but they don't tell you what to do next. If you let them drive, they will crash you into regret. But if you pause, breathe, return to reason, you reclaim the wheel. And that pause, that breath, that decision to wait instead of react, that is where your real strength lives. When someone disrespects you, stop looking for revenge. Start looking for clarity. Ask, Does this moment require my attention, or does it require my absence? Most of the time, it's the latter. Not every spark deserves a flame. Not every fool deserves a response. The Stoics didn't walk around challenging every offense. They walked past it with dignity. Why? Because dignity cannot be taken. It can only be surrendered. And you don't surrender yours for cheap drama. You ever notice how the ones who carry real power rarely raise their voices? They don't announce their dominance. They just move like they own the space. That's not arrogance. That's inner peace, forged through self-mastery. That's what makes people listen, not volume, not fury, presence. And it's not just about avoiding conflict. It's about protecting your clarity. Because when emotions flood the mind, your vision goes blind. You don't see opportunities, you don't hear wisdom, you lose track of your purpose, you trust the wrong people, say the wrong things, burn down things you were meant to build. But when your mind is clear, when your spirit is anchored, you become untouchable. You grow in silence. You thrive under pressure. You become the kind of person who doesn't chase power. You attract it by how you carry yourself. So ask yourself this: if someone can provoke you, do they not own you? If they can push your buttons, distract your focus, trigger your pride, then you are not free. You are reacting. You are surviving, not leading. But when you can stand in the middle of chaos, calm, still, alert, that's not survival, that's sovereignty. And it starts with this: outsmart yourself. Outsmart your temper. Outsmart your pride. Outsmart the impulse that says, respond now, when wisdom says, wait. That is the first victory. Before you outsmart anyone else, you must master your own internal chaos. Otherwise, the loudest enemy you face will always be your own unchecked emotion. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were disciplined. They felt, but they weren't ruled. They hurt, but they still chose wisely. That's what makes a warrior. Not the one who fights everything, but the one who knows what is worth fighting for. And most of the time, your peace is more valuable than your pride. So next time anger rises, pause. Next time ego whispers, silence it. Next time disrespect tempts you to act out, rise above. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to walk away from battles that don't serve your mission. Because in the end, your legacy won't be built by your outbursts. It will be built by your discipline. Your name won't be remembered for how loudly you roared, but for how powerfully you ruled over yourself. That is the foundation. That is rule number 1. Now, if you're ready for what comes next, let's keep going. Rule 2. Learn deeply, speak rarely. Let me ask you something few people ever stop to consider. Why is it that the quietest person in the room often commands the most attention? Why is it that when they finally speak, everyone listens? The answer is simple. Power is not found in noise, it's found in depth. And the deeper your knowledge runs, the less you feel the need to prove it. In a world obsessed with appearances, with saying the right things at the right time to win favor, the Stoic walks a different path. He speaks little, not because he lacks words, but because he has trained his tongue to wait. He knows that every word spoken without purpose is a step away from clarity. So instead, he listens. He observes. He studies the room, the people, the energy. While others scramble to be seen, he takes note of everything they miss. Learning is the armor of the wise. You learn from books, yes, but more importantly, you learn from people, from patterns, from how the world moves and what it rewards. Every encounter becomes a lesson, every mistake a teacher. But if you're too busy talking, trying to impress, trying to explain, you will miss the gold buried in silence. There's a kind of strength that comes from watching quietly while others expose themselves. You learn who they are by what they say, what they reveal, how quickly they reach for validation. But you, if you are wise, you remain still. You do not speak to be accepted. You speak to bring clarity, and only when clarity is needed. Stoicism teaches us to be reserved with our words, not out of fear, but out of discipline. Words are actions, and just like any action, they should serve a purpose. The more you speak, the more you reveal your thoughts, your strategies, your doubts. Those who seek to control you will always search for your weaknesses in what you say. So guard your words like a fortress. Let them come out only when they are sharp, measured, and aimed. This is not about being secretive. It's about being intentional. You don't hide. You prepare. You don't run from conversations. You simply don't waste energy on ones that lead nowhere. You understand that people cannot disrupt what they cannot detect. When your silence becomes full of meaning, your presence speaks for you. Imagine a general before a battle. Does he announce every move? Does he boast of his plan to every passing ear? No. He walks quietly. He studies the terrain. He learns the rhythm of the enemy. And when the time comes, he strikes with precision. That's how you must carry yourself. Let others be loud about their goals. You be focused on execution. Real strength isn't found in being heard all the time. It's in being understood when it matters. And the only way to make your voice powerful is to speak from a place of understanding, not opinion. This means you must read what others ignore, ask what others fear to ask. Learn about human nature, not just through theory, but through experience. Pay attention to how people speak when they think no one's listening. Watch how they treat those they don't need. Study their habits, not just their words. And through all of this, keep your own intentions guarded. Not because you're hiding, but because you value your direction too much to let it be polluted by noise. There is no virtue in over-explaining. You do not need to prove your worth through words. Your discipline, your mastery, your results, these will do the speaking when it's time. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality, and often it's the loud who suffer most, because they're always trying to control perception, to force belief. But the quiet one, the one who observes, doesn't suffer this burden. He knows what he knows." And that peace, that unshakable confidence built from real knowledge, not performance, is what separates him from the crowd. So be the one who listens more than he speaks. Be the one who studies while others perform. Be the one whose silence holds weight, not because he's unsure, but because he's sure of what matters. Speak when your words are needed, not when your pride wants to be heard. And when you do speak, let your voice be calm, precise, and grounded. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more clarity. And clarity only comes from those who've taken the time to listen, to learn, and to think deeply before they act. So, if you truly want to outsmart anyone, start by knowing more than you show, and showing less than you know. Let your knowledge become your shield, your silence your strategy, and your discipline your signal. And when the time is right, speak like someone whose words are not just heard, but remembered. Let's move to the next rule. Your power is still unfolding. Rule 3. Walk with precision, not permission. There comes a moment when you finally understand that waiting is a form of surrender. You wait for recognition. You wait for someone to say you're ready. You wait for the door to open. But the Stoic doesn't wait. He acts. Because he knows that no one is coming to hand him his future. There is no applause before your arrival. No invitation to become who you were meant to be. The ones who rise don't ask. They decide. That's the difference between power and hesitation. power is forged in preparation and revealed in movement. Hesitation is born from the illusion that someone else must approve your becoming. But what if you stopped seeking permission and started walking with precision? What if you stopped hoping to be noticed and instead started building like you've already been chosen? In this life, no one gives you significance. You claim it, not by speaking louder, but by walking straighter. Not by forcing others to see your worth, but by embodying it so fully that it speaks for itself. The Stoic doesn't move to be seen. He moves because his path is already clear in his mind. He acts because he understands that action is the expression of reason, and reason is the root of freedom. So stop standing at the door waiting for someone to open it. Build your own. Walk through it with quiet confidence. Think of the craftsman who wakes before dawn, sharpens his tools in silence, and perfects his skill without expecting thanks. And then, one day, his work speaks so loudly that no one can ignore it. That's how you must move. Let your preparation speak. Let your execution echo. Precision is not noise, it's clarity in motion. You were not born to beg for place. You were not created to wait in line. When your spirit is aligned with your mission, you don't need permission. You don't wait for someone to signal that it's time. You become the signal. People follow the one who knows where they're going. They step aside for the one who walks with purpose. Understand this clearly. Moving with precision is not recklessness. It is not rushing forward without thought. It is stepping only after seeing. It is acting only after preparing. It is the discipline of the archer who does not shoot in haste, but waits until every breath, every muscle, every aim is aligned. And when he releases, the shot does not miss. That is how you must act in your own life. Not with panic, but with presence. Not with noise, but with discipline. No more waiting to feel ready. Readiness comes from repeated effort, from failure, correction, and quiet mastery. And when you step forward after all of that, you don't move with doubt. You move with command. You ever notice how the people who wait for perfect conditions rarely begin? And those who begin with intention, even in imperfect moments, find the way as they move. This is because clarity does not come before action. It often comes through it. You discover who you are not in thinking, but in doing. You don't find precision by standing still. You find it through movement, refined over time. And when you face the resistance, the inner voice that whispers, "You're not ready. Who do you think you are?" you silence it, not with argument, but with action. You do not owe an explanation to doubt. You owe a demonstration to your destiny. That's the discipline of the Stoic. You don't act out of approval. You act out of alignment. You don't wait for applause. You don't hope for understanding. You take one step, then another. And in time, those steps form a path. And that path becomes your legacy. If someone has ever told you to wait, to be patient for your turn, ask yourself this: whose timeline are you living on? Yours or theirs? Because the Stoic doesn't chase moments. He creates them, and he doesn't ask to be chosen. He chooses himself every single day, and if the world doesn't understand your pace, your silence, your direction, let them wonder, let them talk, but don't slow down to explain. Move. And if you're moving right now, leave a comment below. No permission. Just 2 words. Simple, stoic, powerful. And if this message reminds you of the kind of power you want to build, take a breath and subscribe, not for me, but for the version of you that doesn't need validation, just guidance. Your silence becomes your strength, your actions, your signal. In the end, the difference between those who dream and those who build is not talent. It's not opportunity. It's precision. the ability to know when to act, how to act, and to act even when no one claps for you. So from now on, stop waiting for the green light. You are the green light. Walk forward, not with noise, not with fear, but with precision. Because the person who doesn't wait to be told when to rise is the one the world ends up following. Now take a breath, hold your focus, and let's step into the next rule. The journey is only getting sharper. Rule 4. Let setbacks sharpen you. Life will strike. That is not a question. That is a certainty. There will be days when you feel like the very ground beneath you disappears. Times when what you built with effort crumbles without warning. You will lose what you thought you needed. People, plans, moments. And you will feel the silence that follows like a weight in your chest. And in that silence, a voice will whisper, "This is it. You're done." But you are not done. You are being sharpened. Every setback is not the end. It is the beginning of strategy. Because pain, in the hands of someone grounded, becomes purpose. The Stoics never asked for ease. They asked for clarity. And pain is one of the clearest teachers life offers. It does not flatter. It reveals. The ones who rise are not the ones who avoided difficulty. They are the ones who looked it in the eye and asked, "What now?" When something breaks, you do not just mourn the pieces. You study the fracture. You trace the pattern. You learn where the weakness was hiding. And from that, you rebuild, stronger, quieter, wiser. A setback is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to examine. Ask yourself, what did this moment expose in me? Where was I unprepared? Where was I soft? Where I should have been solid? This is how the Stoic grows, not by escaping the storm, but by facing it until he can navigate it with steady hands. Rejection is not always opposition. Sometimes it is redirection. Maybe the door closed because it was never meant to hold the weight of your calling. Maybe the betrayal happened to sever the tie that was quietly weakening your foundation. Sometimes life removes your comfort to reveal your character. The bow must be pulled back before it can fire forward. So when you feel like you're being pulled behind, do not mistake it for defeat. It may be alignment. The archer does not panic when the string tightens. He focuses. You must do the same. The Stoic understands that suffering is not shameful. What matters is how he responds. He does not wallow. He reflects. He does not complain. He recalibrates. When something falls apart, he does not ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What is this preparing me for?" That shift in question changes everything. It transforms reaction into reason, and reason into a plan. You've seen it before. The one who was counted out returns with greater clarity, not louder, not angrier, clearer. He studied the loss. He isolated the weakness. He built a new path not in rage, but in reason. That's the difference between the wounded and the warrior. The wounded stay in the moment of impact. The warrior turns impact into momentum. Let's be honest, setbacks sting. But within that sting is instruction. If you let the pain pass through you without extracting its lesson, it will revisit you again, over and over. But if you slow down, listen, examine, you'll find the blueprint buried beneath the ashes. The fire didn't destroy you, it refined you. There is no shame in being broken. The shame is in refusing to rebuild. The Stoic never sees himself as a victim of circumstance. He sees himself as a student of consequence. Every failure is a classroom, every disappointment, a mirror. And if you are wise, you will ask not what hurt you, but what it taught you. Sometimes the setback isn't even external. It's within. Maybe your discipline slipped. Maybe your focus scattered. Maybe you settled. The pain that followed was not punishment. It was a wake-up call. And if you answer it with silence, structure, and stillness, you will rise higher than before. True growth begins not with success, but with reflection. That is where the edge is formed. That is where the path becomes clear. Pain makes you humble, and humility makes you perceptive. When you are humbled, you listen more, observe more, speak less, act better. You make adjustments. You stop rushing. You stop pretending. You begin living from the inside out. You don't need to tell the world you're coming back. You don't even need to tell yourself. Just begin again, quietly, strategically, with a sharper focus and a calmer heart. Let the world wonder how you did it. Let them see the strength that was forged when no one was watching. Every great builder has known ruin. Every great leader has walked through collapse. But they built again, not because they were unbreakable, but because they refused to remain broken. And what they built after was no longer just a structure. It was a statement. So don't waste your suffering. Use it. Let it fuel your next step. Let it shape your next strategy. And when you rise again, which you will, do it without needing to explain. Your actions will speak. Your precision will speak. Your silence will speak. And with that, let's move to the next rule. The fire has only just begun to forge who you truly are. Rule 5. Break the pattern. Own the game. In a world that depends on routine, where systems are built to track, predict, and control behavior, there is immense strength in becoming unreadable. Most people are easy to follow, not because they speak loudly, but because they live in patterns. Same responses, same reactions, same emotional scripts. When others know your habits, your preferences, your weaknesses, they don't have to confront you directly. They just wait for you to move as expected. And when you do, they steer you without touching you. But the Stoic moves differently. The Stoic studies his own patterns first, then breaks them before others ever get the chance to use them. He trains himself not to be obvious, not to be impulsive, but to be deliberate without being predictable. That is what makes him untouchable. When others expect noise, he gives them silence. When they expect rage, he offers calm. When they expect collapse, he stands steady. His power does not lie in reaction, but in restraint. Being unpredictable is not about chaos. It's not about erratic decisions or inconsistency. It's about movement without forecast, about making every step so intentional that no one outside you can trace the design. When you break the rhythm, you gain the advantage. When they expect you to plead, you walk away. When they anticipate outrage, you remain poised. This disarms them, because control requires certainty, and you give them none. If people can predict how you'll respond, they can influence you. If they know what will shake you, they will test it. But when you change the rhythm, when you stop showing your emotions, when you stop giving explanations, when you stop walking in straight lines, they grow uncertain. And from that uncertainty, you gain control. The Stoic is a master of unpredictability, not to confuse others, but to protect what matters. He is not reactive, he is rooted. He acts only when it serves the mission, not the moment. That means saying nothing when provoked. That means acting when they least expect it. That means growing quietly, without announcements or declarations. You become powerful the moment you realize you owe no one your patterns. You owe no one your timeline. You move in silence, not to hide, but to move with freedom. Your unpredictability forces others to pause, to question, to retreat, because they no longer know how to play their games with you. You've changed the board, you've changed the rules, and now they're unprepared. Think of the general, not the foot soldier. The general misleads. He does not show his full formation. He lets the enemy tire themselves out chasing illusions. He strikes only when the time is right. That's how you must think. Stop giving people the map to your next move. Stop handing out access to your focus, your energy, your values. Let them guess. Let them wonder. The ones who truly see your worth will not demand to know your every step. They will respect your silence. Unpredictability also sharpens the soul. It forces you to examine your habits and decide which serve you and which expose you. When you no longer rely on routine for identity, you begin to act from awareness. You detach from the need to be understood. You release the pressure to react. That is Stoic freedom, not doing the unexpected for attention, but for alignment. When others seek to provoke you and find only stillness, they grow nervous. When they watch you walk away without explanation, they lose their grip. That's what happens when you remove their anchor. They expected the old version of you, the one who explained too much, reacted too quickly, chased too easily. But now they are met with mystery. They are met with someone who doesn't flinch, who doesn't explain, who simply moves when it's time and never when it's expected. And yes, some will call it distance. Let them. Some will call it arrogance. Let them. You were not built to be readable. You were built to be real, to be deliberate, to move with the kind of silence that makes noise unnecessary. Because when your life becomes a series of thoughtful, unpredictable moves, you don't need to declare anything. The results declare it for you. History remembers the disruptors, the ones who moved left when the world expected right. The ones who spoke last, but said the most. The ones who refused to live on the timeline given to them and instead carved out their own. They weren't reckless, they were unreadable, and because of that, they were unstoppable. So from this point forward, stop showing your every plan. Stop repeating the same steps that got you nowhere. Interrupt your own habits before others can exploit them. Build new paths. Move when it makes sense, not when it's safe. Be consistent in your discipline, but unpredictable in your direction. That is how you keep control, not by overpowering, but by outmaneuvering. And the next time someone expects the old you, do not deliver. Let them guess. Let them wait. Let them wonder where the script went. Because when you walk in with silence, focus, and no pattern to trace, no one can trap you. No one can stop you. And from that stillness, from that mystery, we move forward into what comes next. Win through quiet mastery. There is a kind of power the world rarely understands. It does not speak loudly. It does not seek attention. It does not raise its voice or wave its victories in the air. It simply moves with quiet certainty, sharp clarity, and an inner calm that cannot be shaken. This is not the power of those who dominate by force. It is the power of those who have mastered themselves. True strength begins where noise ends. When you no longer chase recognition. When you no longer react to provocation. When you stop explaining your path to those who were never meant to walk it. That's when something shifts. While others are distracted by appearances, you are anchored in purpose. While they chase applause, you train in silence. And while they speak of greatness, you quietly build it, brick by brick, choice by choice. The Stoics taught us this. Control over self is the highest form of power. A man who controls his voice, his time, his focus, he does not need to prove anything. His presence becomes the message. His work speaks long after he's left the room. And while others burn their energy defending their pride, the Stoic conserves his for what truly matters, his mission. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk. Let them try to read you. Their noise is their weakness. Your calm is your weapon. When betrayal comes, when rumors spread, when your name is dragged into the mud, do not descend to their level. Do not react to every bark. A lion does not flinch at the howl of the wind. He stays still. He waits. He chooses his moment, not to respond, but to rise. And when he does, it's not with fury, but with force, born from patience. That's quiet mastery. You turn insult into fuel. You turn delays into preparation. You let your struggle shape your discipline, not your identity. You do not shout your truth. You embody it. Because real legacy isn't built in debates or in applause. It's built in the dark, in silence, when no one is clapping and no one is watching. That's when the foundation is laid. And later, when the results speak, when the world sees the height you've reached, they won't understand how you got there. And that's the point. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. That means your work is still unfolding, protected by mystery, secured by discipline. You don't owe anyone your story. You owe yourself your standard. You don't need to explain why you stayed quiet. The results will show why. You don't need to prove your intentions. Your actions will make them undeniable. When you walk into a room, the weight of your calm will say everything. Because people can feel it, the depth, the fire, the journey behind the stillness. The Stoic doesn't waste time proving. He spends it building. When others argue, he refines. When they compete, he sharpens. When they watch, he works. That's the separation between those who live for attention and those who live for impact. You become untouchable not by dodging life's blows, but by using each one to deepen your clarity. You walk through fire and you come out colder, not broken, but forged. Not louder, but stronger. Every insult you don't answer, every provocation you don't react to, adds to the force behind your silence. And that silence, it becomes a presence no one can ignore. So let them try to provoke you. Let them try to drag you down with noise. You've already won the moment you choose restraint over reaction. You've already won the moment you walk with discipline over ego. You've already won the moment you decide your energy belongs to your purpose, not their chaos. This is how you win, not with declarations, not with anger, but by walking in alignment with your own standard. No pattern, no permission, no apology, just quiet mastery. The kind that can't be shaken. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself, because in the end, they will ask how you did it. They will look around in disbelief, and the answer won't be found in your words. It will be written in the consistency of your actions, in the sharpness of your silence, in the strength of the storm you endured without ever making a sound. That's how you dominate, by mastering yourself so completely that nothing outside you can pull you off course. So as you leave this moment, do not just walk away feeling inspired, walk away aligned. Let every word serve as armor when doubt knocks, as light when the world goes dark, and as anchor when voices try to shake your ground. You are no longer a follower of noise. You are the architect, the strategist, the quiet storm that moves with purpose, not permission. If this spoke to something deeper in you, take a breath, subscribe, and keep building this quiet strength with us. And if you're ready to live sharper, type silent power in the comments below. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. Your actions will speak. Your discipline will echo. And your calm will carry you through storms they never saw coming. Stay steady, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one. Your next move begins right here.